Hello, I'm Movie Hanger, and this is the horror film, The Deep Dark. Regular miners discover deep underground an ancient tomb. Trapped after rock falls in a stone trap at a depth of thousands of meters, workers begin to suspect that this is not a burial chamber, but a prison for something truly horrifying. The movie's action begins in 1856. In the depths of a coal mine, workers are busy extracting valuable minerals. They have a special bird capable of sensing gas leaks first. To lighten the mood, the miners sing a song together, a song that helps not only to build and live, but also to swing a pickaxe. A miner, breaking through a wall, notices that the bird has died. Everyone is informed about the gas leak. The workers step back from the opening. Not smelling the gas, they summon an old, wise miner covered in soot. He crawls into the opening, where he lights a candle and uses a special extended stick to check for gas in the depths of the cave. However, instead, he notices an incredibly clawed paw. He throws the candle and flees in terror. Gas immediately fills the area, causing an explosion. The action then shifts to Morocco in 1956. A young man named Amir, along with a friend, rides in the back of a truck to a recruitment center where the mine supervisor is hiring new workers. The candidates are lined up in the courtyard to be evaluated physically by the recruiter, who marks them with different colors. Rejected ones get marked in red, suitable ones in green. Amir's friend, due to coughing, gets a red mark. The next guy gets the same, but due to financial desperation, he snatches the stamp and marks himself green. Evaluating his character, the recruiter agrees to hire him, marking his forehead with the stamp. At that moment, a scientist named Professor Berthier arrives at the mine. He walks among the workers, trying to find the manager, but the manager finds the guest himself and leads him to his office. The professor has come for an expedition to a depth of 1,000 meters to take soil samples, but it will take the miners 2 weeks to dig a tunnel there. The scientist is in a hurry, so he offers a bribe to the manager to expedite the process. The manager agrees, but they won't be able to dig the passage before a week passes. An alarm signal sounds, and they bring up an injured person from the mine. The manager and Berthier rush to the lift, where nurses are taking care of the injured person with a damaged leg. The injured person was rescued from the rubble by Brigadier Roland. The professor insists that he should lead the expedition. The manager invites Roland to the office to explain the task. He puts the money received from the scientist on the table. This will be the workers' bonus. Reluctantly, the brigadier agrees. The brigade leader appoints Amir to the team, replacing the injured member, and he gets acquainted with colleagues in the locker room. Before their first descent, Roland gives a brief orientation to the newcomer and appoints Luis as his supervisor. The team sets off for their shift. Along the way, Amir curiously observes the factory until he finds himself in the cramped elevator cabin. They proceed through the mine, reaching a wall opening that needs to be deepened. The team starts working on it. When Paul's flashlight bulb burns out, Amir is sent to look for him. Wandering through the corridors, he stumbles upon a colleague and a white horse. The horse is the mine's top worker. At lunch, Roland notices cheese in the newcomer's bag and shows him that a rat has already gotten into it and nibbled on the food. Miners befriend rats as they, like birds, warn of danger. Giving the spoiled cheese to the rat, the brigadier advises hanging the bag higher and gives the newcomer an apple for a snack. This is how Amir's first day at work goes. He barely has the energy to take a shower afterward. On the next shift, Professor Berthier joins them. He has a journal for notes and a camera with a flash to document the fascinating journey. Through narrow, dark corridors, they reach a point where a miner will place explosives to pave the way down to the required depth. After receiving technical clearance, the men peer inside. Roland is not pleased that the professor is withholding information. He has a map of the lower tunnels. The brigadier throws the journal into the pit, forcing the scientist to descend first on the rope. In addition to the journal, they find ancient man-made tunnels there. As the rest of the miners descend, the brigadier tells the story of a whole brigade that perished here 100 years ago. A fire broke out and they didn't manage to escape. Their bodies were never found. The passage to the lower levels got blocked and no one has descended here since. While exploring, Professor Berthier separates from the group. Roland notices the absence and orders a search. Wandering through the corridors, the workers examine the smooth walls. Upon reaching a junction, they split into two groups. Amir goes with Luis and Santini. They find the remains of one of the deceased miners. Despite the newcomer's pleas, his colleagues search the skeleton for valuable loot. In the hand with crushed bones, they find a mysterious stone of strange shape, which they take with them. Amir notices a message written in blood on the wall, telling about some creature that roams in the darkness. Luis interrupts the reading, playing with the skeleton. The trio continues their search for the professor, but finds the other colleagues instead. They watch flashes from the camera. Berthier is capturing something ahead. Unhappy with this, Roland sneaks up behind him and applies a chokehold to get attention and get a simple truth. Underground, he's in charge, and disobedience won't be tolerated. obliterated. Amir notices inscriptions on the walls in an ancient language that pique his curiosity. According to the scientist, the true purpose of his visit lies beyond the wall. He asks the miners to break through it, to which Roland reluctantly agrees, first making sure there's nothing dangerous there. The miner dutifully places dynamite. Moments later, a passage materializes in the wall. The miners enter a hall with stone columns covered in mysterious inscriptions. With Amir's help, the professor takes samples of materials, estimating their age to be millennia old. While exploring the area, the workers come across numerous human remains. Skeletons lie on the floor, mixed with ancient weapons and shields. Swords crumble from age right in their hands. Most likely, this is a tomb. On a stone pedestal stands a black sarcophagus with stone-carved long arms and a huge head. Berthier believes that this creature was worshipped as a deity in ancient times, but pragmatic Roland dislikes being in the crypt. Gathering the people, they head to the hole where the engineer has already constructed a wooden descent and even led a horse down it. Top worker. Suddenly, the animal starts behaving strangely and runs off into the darkness as if frightened by something. Cracks appear on the walls, causing a collapse. The ceiling with the rescue hole collapses, and the wooden bridge falls directly onto Santini's legs, crushing them. The evening ceases to be calm, which frays the nerves of the brigadier. He accuses the professor of what happened. While the bones are set for the injured person, Amir is sent to find the remaining workers. He finds Luis and Paul in the tomb, where they are trying to open a grave. However, they are unsuccessful. Amir, noticing a strange hole on the coffin lid, tries the stone found earlier on it. Suddenly, the locking mechanisms open. The miners push the lid down and see not only a body inside, but also a pile of precious stones. They stuff their pockets with them. When Amir tries to leave, Luis beats him, threatening to kill him if he tells anyone. The frightened newcomer flees, while Luis urinates on the skeletons of ancient warriors. Paul divides the stones into several parts, remembering the share for the injured comrade, who won't be able to work for some time. Luis lights a cigarette despite Paul's concerns about potential flammable gas. While they divide the loot, a hand with incredibly long fingers extends from the coffin. The creature lying inside rises, attracting the attention of the miners, after which frightened grave robbers rush down the corridor. They all run towards the rest of the brigade. The injured engineer points at Paul. Long fingers appear behind him. Grabbing the man, the creature quickly drags him into the darkness. The brigade goes after their comrade. They find a fallen bag and a bloody trail. The trail leads to a decapitated body with its abdomen torn open. This is all that's left of Paul. The lagging professor then appears. The enraged miners accuse him of what happened. Roland inquires about what he knows. Berthier says they're dealing with traces of an unknown ancient civilization that used to offer human sacrifices to the god from the sarcophagus. The sarcophagus itself turns out to be even more ancient. Amir suggests that it's not a tomb, but a prison. He proposes they go back to the collapse to avoid encountering the monster. Suddenly, Luis remembers that the injured Santini was left alone, and the workers rush back. The injured Santini uses the professor's camera flash to illuminate the long corridor. At one point, the monster appears in the darkness. It grabs the man. His colleagues encounter creatures in the corridor, each holding the prisoner with several hands at once. Ripping open his abdomen with its claws, the monster leaves Santini and disappears into the darkness. The miner dies in the arms of the brigadier. The survivors decide that they need to lure the unknown creature into a trap. They decide to use the remaining dynamite for the attack. The miners return to the lair where the sarcophagus is located. Professor Berthier studies the inscriptions on the columns, trying to understand the backstory of what's happening. Amir, displaying a talent for languages, helps him. They manage to understand how to navigate the labyrinth of corridors to find the way out. The brigade follows the scientist's directions, but instead of an exit, they find a dungeon filled with skeletons. Berthier believes they are volunteers who offered themselves as sacrifices. They continue further and come across fresh blood on the walls and pillars. The bloody trail leads the scientist and Amir to a room where the escaped horse lies with its belly slit open. Taking advantage of the others falling behind, Berthier pulls a lever, closing the passage with a huge stone. He explains to Amir that the proletariat wants to kill him for initiating the expedition. While the miners were trying to move the stone, the professor examined the inscriptions on the walls. He concluded that the monster was not just a malicious entity, but a harbinger of even greater evil, namely, the awakening of the sleeping Cthulhu. As they prepared to leave, the carcass of the horse began to move, and the monster emerged from its intestinal depths. Berto ordered the boy not to move, while he himself approached the creature, expressing admiration aloud. The professor embraced the monster, but it responded by breaking his bones. Amir, in a panic, ran to the blocked exit. The The miners barely managed to move the stone to save him, and he himself barely managed to retrieve the scientist's diary. Amir accused Louise of threatening the professor. The boy also told about the robbery of the tomb, which served as a catalyst for their unfortunate situation. After checking the subordinate's bag, Roland almost beat him and took the valuables to give to the families of the deceased. Amir led them further through the corridors in search of an exit, cross-referencing with the notes of the deceased birthday. Upon reaching a fork, they heard strange noises and turned off the lights so as not to be detected. The monster, which had emerged, caught up with them. It slit the throat of one miner and dragged the body away, while Amir panicked and ran away. The boy hid around the corner, where he was found by Roland. The two of them, along with the brigadier, searched for an exit. On the way, Amir explained that they couldn't just escape like that. They had to stop the monster from getting out and causing the end of the world. However, the brigadier was not interested in this, and just wanted to save himself. The clues led them to a room with the remains of miners who got stuck 100 years ago. Nearby lay a notebook. According to it, somewhere there was a vertical shaft where victims were dropped for the monster, and through which they could escape. Amir understood that the clues should be read according to the Arabic tradition from right to left. They prepared to go, but then the monster's paw grabbed Amir by the leg and dragged him into the darkness. Left alone, Roland headed for the exit. He found the shaft, under which was a huge pile of bones, and climbed them towards the exit. Amir found himself in a strange ancient structure full of tombs. He emerged into a throne room where the bones of victims were smoldering on a lava fire. Here, on the throne, sat the creature. It used Luis's severed head to talk to the boy. The monster wanted Amir to help it get out, promising to endow him with the power of a god in return. Understanding that this would mean the end of humanity, Amir pretended to want to hug the creature, but instead drove a spearhead he had picked up earlier into its leg. The boy escaped. He managed to run through the corridors to the shaft where victims were dropped. Amir climbed to the hole from which Roland's hand descended. The brigadier was waiting for him, setting explosives in the passage. They crawled up to the exit while being pursued by the hideous creature. Roland prepared to detonate the passage when the monster reached the dynamite, only to realize that he had forgotten the detonator key below, in the crevice with the explosives. Amir descended with the detonator to retrieve the key and set off the device, knowing full well that he wouldn't make it to a safe height in time. The boy inserted the key and hurriedly activated it. Suddenly, the brigadier's hand rested on his shoulder. Roland had also descended. Together, they armed the detonator, and when the monster reached the dynamite, they activated it. An explosion resounded in the shaft, and the movie ended there. Thank you for watching. I'm very glad that you're watching my retelling of the movie. Have a great day, and good luck.